Rama comments that the rejecting of the opening of negotiations was an earthquake that shook our spirits. Rules for the little ones are not sufficiently respected. The decision of the Tirana prosecutor's office, corruption, and the closing of the payment file of the hotel are signs that the justice system has failed. Citizens in Vlora protest against dangerous waste upon hearing a ferry from Italy has suspected to contain hazardous substances. It's 6 o'clock on Saturday, the 22nd of February, 2020. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to the English edition of Ora News. My name is Christopher, bringing you the only update of the local Albanian news translated into English. Prime Minister Edi Rama said at the Western Balkans Integration Conference that rejecting the opening of negotiations was an earthquake that shook our spirits. According to him, skeptical countries like France have a problem with the EU itself, while in his view, the rules for the little ones are not sufficiently respected. As for Rama, the rules are not sufficiently respected for the little ones. Prime Minister Edi Rama considers the process of the EU membership difficult and depressing, not only because of the difficulty of the reforms that aspirant countries must undertake, but also for the internal problems that the Union has. At the One Continent, One Future conference, Rama said that one day this process should come to an end, while he said skeptical countries have problems with the EU itself. It is very clear that the process has become increasingly difficult and quite depressing for countries in the queue to join. This only applies not only to Albania, but to all other countries on the wait list. There must be a point when it seems like there is a never-ending cycle. At any given moment, when a number of countries have their own problems and their own dynamics and want to say no, they are able to find a pretext by pointing to the countries that do say so. Not because of the countries, but because of the problems that they have. Rama praises the attitude of the President of France as the most honest and straightforward and said that the little ones, the rules are not sufficiently respected. What he is saying is that Europe, as it is not functioning. The good news is that this has opened up a good debate and brought some about important changes in the membership methodology that seem to be good for the countries, the Commission, and the Union. And it will probably make the process much clearer and fairer. We know the devil is in the details. Experience has shown us that the rules for the youngest and the weakest are not sufficiently respected, while there is always a way for the rich. At the conference, the Prime Minister referred to the Balkan Schengen, which he said makes EU integration more complete and easier. The leader of the Socialist Movement for Integration, Monica Kurimaldi, has also made strong accusations against Minister of Justice Etlida Gjonaj. From Shkodra, where she held a meeting with the structures, Kurimaldi considered Gjonaj a street thug who forges documents. Monica even reveals that the minister also has family ties with the President of the Republic. We still do not have a response from our lovely minister who has family ties with the President of the Republic. He has not answered why he has falsified the Justice Ministry. For me, morally, Arta Vorpsi is a failure. What will this member of the Constitutional Court look like when she ends up a simple judge? Who is this minister who builds her life and her future on the fate of the lives of Albanian children? And she also falsified the protocol of the Ministry of Justice and stole the property of many Albanians. As a street-level hooligan, her and her gang has the courage to falsify the state protocol. So don't be surprised if they have stolen your property or your money. Don't be surprised by her, as she has no problem with this, clearly shown by how she has falsified the record for Neser Saiti to shut Saimir Tahiri's mouth because he had a boss over his head. This was done as not to show the connection of the Habilai gang with friends who received orders from Rama through Tahiri, while she falsifies the evidence of murders and criminals by removing their fingerprints and replacing them with the fingerprints of ordinary citizens. She is a hooligan of the Albanian state. Sorry for my language, but when it comes to daring to falsify the constitutional right of the president, think about what a person who has the least bit of obligation to the SP and no more to the citizens, what she can do with our rights and with the lives of other Albanians, Kurimaldi says. Albania continues to present significant deficiencies in the fight against money laundering and terrorist financing. The World Dirty Money Observatory points out that the country has been reintroduced to the gray list and has a limited time to meet international standards. Albania has been reintroduced after 5 years on the gray list with countries with effective anti-money laundering and terrorist financing legislation. The announcement was made by the Intergovernmental Financial Action Task Force and the relevant Council of Europe body, which 2 years ago found that the Albanian government's political mechanism were not fully effective in preventing the situation. The presence of a country on the gray list makes it more difficult to obtain financial assistance from the IMF, the World Bank, and the European Union. The Intergovernmental Task Force states in its announcement that Albania is committed to implementing its action plan to understand the risk of money laundering and other risks, to establish effective mechanisms for detecting and preventing criminal infiltration in the economy, to increase the number of prosecutions, confiscations of money, and to improve proactive oversight measures. The Paris-based monitoring group adds that Albania has a limited time to increase the effectiveness of anti-money laundering and terrorist financing rules to avoid financial penalties. In 2018, more than 38 million euros were seized on suspicion of illegal activities in the country. After gambling, the construction sector remains the most problematic, even banks and transfer companies as channels for sending funds. The Democratic Party has considered the decision of the Tirana prosecutor's office to close the payment file of the hotel made by the deputy mayor via Fusha Limited, as well as the other issue over the abusive tender of the municipality regarding pine woods on the highway, a clear failure of the justice reform. Former MP Durata Chupi said corruption, moneyless competition, inflated and illegal profits is the answer to why justice today is powerless in the face of the corrupt and incriminated power of both Edi Rama and Erion Veliaj. The Democratic Party says justice reform has failed as corrupt governors remain untouchable. The former MP Durata Chupi is referring to the Tirana prosecutor's decision to close the payment file of the hotel, the deputy mayor of Tirana, by the private company Fusha, and the issue of the abusive tender of the municipality with the pines on the highway. In both cases, the Democratic Party and the media have made publicly available irrefutable documents proving that the law has been violated. But the prosecution seized by Edi Rama and Erion Veliaj pretends not to hear or see it. In the face of pressure from vetoing and the desire to serve power, the Tirana prosecutor's office has become a political tool, defending corrupt governors and hitting opposition and citizens. Chupi says it is a fact that even after the reform of the judiciary, after the vetoing, and after the so-called Kachaka laws, the authorities are still unable and untouchable. Corruption is at its highest level of government. Citizens of Vlora have rallied today to protest against Italy's handling of hazardous waste. Vlora is not a chemical bin, citizens have declared. The Vlora prosecutor's office has blocked the ferry to Vlora, where suspected hazardous substances were found, and have begun investigations to determine the type and quantity of the rubbish. Suspicions are of an attempted trafficking of suspected hazardous waste from Italy to Albania that, if proven, is the first of recent years, a strong alarm for the safety of our nation. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Ora News, thank you and good night.